Oh, that's so much easier with the seat covers. Oh,
just slip straight in, mate. Hello.
Hello. So, we've got an on button.
Yeah.
We've got another on button.
Yeah. Oh.
And then we have a starter.
Oh my God. You're all right, So yes guys, welcome back to the channel. As you'll see by that very exciting start to today's video, the mighty van project is alive. It's alive and it is running as it should.
Wow.
Look at this.
It's running on a base mat.
Base mat.
No idle speed control valve yet, which is why it's hunting. But it works.
Yes. So we're going to spend today's video going around this thing because there's a huge update, of course. It drives and runs and everything.
So basically, we've got it with coolant and we've got all the boost hoses on. So now we've got to get some bracketry and get the front end set up with actual metal holding everything in.
Yeah.
Wiper blades on, rear brakes connect, and then off for an MOT, and then off for mapping at George's.
Exciting times. We'll turn it off and show you guys round this thing because yeah, it's a madness. The exhaust, mate. There's so much coming out of the side of it. So yes guys, we're going to do an update on this van build. Now if you guys don't remember, this is an ex-postal van. Started life as a diesel, didn't it, Jason?
A diesel.
A diesel. And now, as I open the door, it's not a diesel anymore, as you can probably see from the engine bay. We're going to come inside though for some updates.
Coming inside. So, what have we actually done? We have managed to graft an ME221 ECU into the vehicle now, which is running a base map for a 2.1 Zetec turbo. So the idea of the base map was to get it running, to check things, get up its temperature, and to check there's no leaks. Because before we go and seal everything and fix everything in bracketry wise, I wanted to do what's a test fit. We've now got everything working in here. We've got boost gauge, oil pressure, battery voltage, the rev counter from an RS2000 has been grafted in. Obviously it would have had a diesel one before, and that's had a pin picked up to the ECU to give us a correct RPM outlet. Basically everything works, gauges come to life. We've got a radiator fan switch that's connected to the fan as a bypass to the main switch in case we're thinking it's getting a bit hot. So we've got that one here. This is a heated front screen because we won't be running a fan.
Oh yeah.
So this will be replaced with a heated front screen, literally so we can just go bosh and it will demist if we need to. If we come onto some damp track days, nothing worse. But obviously for space in there, we have done away with the heater blower fan.
Nice.
This switch here is going to be for maybe something naughty. Not anti-lag. But we're not.
We're not saying that out loud yet.
My mapper's not entirely happy about that. So
we'll find a way.
It's currently unlabelled.
Yes, unlabelled.
I'm not entirely sure I wants to do it.
Pop and bang.
Yeah, it's for dicking around at shows.
Yes, the dicking around button, that needs to happen.
That's the dicking around button, so that is there for dicking around. And obviously, yeah, that is literally all that is. But the good news is we've done away with the key system. so we don't have to rely on the Ford ignition system, which was doesn't like a lot of amperage put in through it.
Temperamental.
But what we've cleverly done is we have linked the ECU and the fuse box centrally to the ECU and to the battery. So everything runs through a fuse system and then lives quite tidily behind here. So there's a fuse box down there. I don't know if you can see it, just in the back there. So yeah, we've got fuses. Everything is been wired in quite nicely.
Yeah.
So that if we did have a failure, we can go to it quite fast, take the fuse, see what's happening.
Yeah, nice.
And then obviously we've got a relay that then sends a signal to the fuel pump system. It's got a Cosworth Bosch pump sat there, sat obviously to the tank and to the swell pot. So that all runs centrally off of this switch. So if you did have come onto a problem, let's get the fuel running. Yeah, you can just cut it in the event of an accident or a fire. So you can just hit that switch, cuts all fuel pressures to the engine.
Nice.
Done.
That's cool. Good idea.
Yeah, yeah. Well, kind of the thing you need to do for track vehicles. Other than that, there's nothing else to report on the interior.
I'm just going to say, I'm going to pause the video here, right? That's so much work you've just said. That's not like the 3 minutes. That's not 3 minutes of this video.
That was a year.
A year to get that right, basically.
Last summer.
Yeah.
So if you imagine the complexity of making a Ford lighting system, horn system, and everything else to work with a standalone management and then breaker switches and new fuses, that was 50 hours.
Yes, that's a long time.
Yeah.
Of just slight weekends.
But there was no point videoing that process because it's boring.
No.
So we wanted to wait till we got to this point whereby we can explain what exactly is going on.
Yeah.
So let's run down the spec of the engine. Let's have a show.
Let's go to the engine bay, because this is of course the Pierce resistance, this being originally a diesel, non-turbo.
Yes.
Non-turbo diesel this vehicle was.
So we're still in the finishing stages under here, but what you will see is an intercooler and a radiator from Zetec that is then spliced into the T3 under here with the Turbo Smart external wastegate, connected to then a conversion plate to go from an original MFI RS turbo manifold, which is now onto a 2 litre Zetec head. Now the head is an Area 6 equipped double valve springed cammed engine, so the head is flowing very well, it's got good flow and it's got a good valve bounce rate at the top of the RPMs, so you're going to have very strong pull right the way through to 7.3,
nice.
Which is very nice. RS500 style K&N intake, very very nice, coupled to a stage 2 T3 turbocharger. Unwater cooled at the moment. We're not sure what we're going to do about that. We're not sure whether to water cool it. People say do, people say don't. We're going to run it off at the moment, not water cool, because then it won't boil up the rest of the water system. As long as we've got good airflow down through here, we should be fine. So you will see it's fixed on with cable ties at the moment. This is because we've only got 2 fixing points available to the radiator and the intercooler. So what's next is fabrication of a new front bar. Obviously we were losing space, so the front bar had to be cut to have all this fit. This is then going to be extended outwards and to bring the strength back and the rigidity to the front of the van. Once that bar is in, we're also going to find some pickup points here under the chassis, will then connect down and hold the radiator and intercooler in very very firmly, thus giving us a decent gap between our oven, the turbo, and the radiator. Now on Series 1s and Series 2s you get a lot of heat soak because the radiator is so close to the oven. We've tried to learn from those mistakes and I've pulled it all forward, so the cassette of cooling system is now sat forward, i.e. the Mark 6 van or the Escort was never turbocharged from the factory.
No.
So these are things that you come across along the journey. So that's next to do, is reconnect this cross member in a newer fashion, allowing for the fan cassette and leaving a nice amount of gap between the oven
The oven,
and the screamer pipe.
oven, yeah.
But nicely, you haven't seen it yet, but the screamer pipe now comes down and goes down towards this way. So what's next is when the bumper's all on, is then extend that screamer pipe to exit out of the side of the bumper with an 1.25 inch exit pipe. So that's going to be road spec. So road spec will be all connected on. Track spec will be the removal of this headlight, and then we're going to make another headlight with an air dam into the air filter. So we've got cold air induction forcing its way through to that air filter. Now, I can't show you the bumper, it's not here. So the bumper did go off to paint, and I've stopped them because I said, look, we're going to have to take out some of the guts of the bumper for it to fit nicely. So we've gone away from the Escort van original bumper, and we're using what they fitted to an Escort Mexico and the Mark 6, a GTI or an RS2000. With that bumper you have a deeper air dam in the bottom. Escort van's like this sort of thin, and that one's quite a bit thicker. So we're going to end up trimming where the number plate sits to give it as much air force into this position, into the cooler. That said, that is a job once we've fitted the intercooler and radiator permanently. So we need to get our crash bar in, then we need to get our fixings in, and then the bumper can come along, be trimmed, and that's like the last job. And then it'll be a road looking sort of vehicle. What else have we done? I don't think there's much else. At the moment, we are at the point of now waiting for fabricators. So we need someone to come along. George at the garage. George, you watching? George?
By the way.
George at the garage. I don't know if I've mentioned George.
George at the garage, love
but
him.
George is next up on the hit list. So we've got it to the point that it can easily be manoeuvred in and out of a workshop now. It starts and runs. It can go on Jimmy's truck, go to George's. We can have a day there of measuring, making components to fit all this metalwork properly. And the best thing to say is, in the event of a problem, if I have a hole in the radiator, I want to be able to undo bolts.
Yes.
And then it falls out.
Yeah.
I don't want to be welding things in permanently that you can't undo in a hurry, because I do not want to remove this again.
Nope.
So I'd like to be able to go bumper off, but like a German vehicle, and access all of this from the front, rather than having to go, oh, I need to take all that and then go out through here. Okay. So it needs to be done from the front. So we're trying to backwards forward build and think what's worst case scenario. Yeah. Pick up a stone.
Yeah.
Oh,
we need to pull
out.
the front of it. No.
I'd rather just be like bumper off, which will literally be only on 2 bolts at the front, 2 tyres at the top. Bumper off. Right, there's like a set of cooling system, and we'll be able to take it out through the bottom.
Yeah, nice. I like this. Thinking ahead, just in case something does happen.
Next up is the retrofitting of a power steering rack. So we've got the capabilities to do so. There will be a tensioner change if we do, as in this tensioner here will be changed, and we will have a power steering pump fitted if we go down the mechanical power steering route. So that is quite an easy swap, because Zetec Escorts of the time would have ran a power steering rack, changed the rack out, reservoir up here, done. So that is something that I've now noticed, just manoeuvring it round here off the road. Obviously it's not road legal, the steering is ridiculously heavy. So I'm not a fan. And I'm thinking, on last track day I did in my RS Turbo, it was bloody hard work holding onto that steering wheel round some big corners
and then grabbing a gear.
It's nothing beats having power steering. So talking to Jimmy, he thinks we should go to retrofit power steering from another Escort, or we could go down the Deer route and power assist the rack another way with some Vauxhall components.
Yep. Vauxhall Corsa components. Did you just say that out loud? Vauxhall Corsa?
I need a minute.
Yeah, sorry about that, everyone. Yeah, so Vauxhall Corsa power steering is actually quite a big thing in the track day stuff. I learned recently.
It is, it can work well as a standalone system, but we'll see. I think for the time being, we're not going to probably get to any competitive events until next year. It'd be nice to get it mapped, nice to get it MOT'd. I don't mind doing some road driving with it, non-power steering, and we'll carry on as we are. We can always retrofit afterwards. So that's kind of, in a nutshell, where we are.
So a lot of information there to digest, but that's what we wanted to do in this video especially, is just get out there exactly where it's been for the past sort of year, or I suppose 10 months maybe, so just getting it done really.
Finished working on it last August, tucked it away for a little while, concentrated on obviously the Fiestas.
Because built the Fiesta, the white Fiesta, the red Fiesta, the Series 1, it's the RS69, the Series 1 engine,
But now both the Fiestas are completely finished. The 1600i is at a point where I can't continue with it. It's down at Martin's. So this breathing space that we've now found, having the ramp back, we've utilised the time as much as we can.
For this to come out?
For this to get working.
Yeah, so, huge, really, well, quite a far jump, really, in content and how much has been done to the car off camera. But it's running and driving.
It runs and drives, yes indeed, I'm very excited. The front brake setup is working as well. It's got ST170 discs and calipers and pads on the front. Nothing racy at the moment, just a standard setup, just to make sure things fit.
You can build from there, can't you really?
The last fabricating job on the rear end is to fit discs from an ST170 on the back.
Okay.
So the brake lines are at the moment to the hydraulic handbrake, and then they stop there, and the outlet will then run down through and come to the back of the van.
Cool.
So that's like another job that obviously needs to be done at George's, because he's made a template for the caliper bracket. Then it's a simple case of bolting them on and feeding the brake fluid to it.
Nice.
So yeah, that's kind of like, this is the furthest ahead it's ever been.
Yeah. It's a huge jump to where we were
100%.
initially. So yeah, I think with that, we're going to end today's video here straight away, because I feel like the next jump is going to be, again, quite a big one, but nothing...
Next video...
Nothing too major, but enough for...
Did I do this today?
Have you got a new scratch on the back of it? What have you done?
I don't know. Yeah, so next hop into the job will be George's.
Yeah, so we will obviously get that on camera. Mainly fabrication, and then maybe a dyno session at some point, something like that.
We'll have a nice long journey like that.
Yeah.
As a shakedown, we've got the diff that actually needs to be broken in.
Yeah.
These gripper diffs need, they do need to be
it hasn't
broken
actually
in.
done any mileage yet,
It needs
has
to
it?
do some nice gently twisty turnies, make it all work. It hasn't done any mileage at the minute, which is half the reason why the steering is such a battle. That differential is hardcore.
Yeah.
You cannot push that car with even 10 degrees of turn on it unless there's 3 of you pushing it.
Oh wow.
That diff is just on it.
It's ready to grab
So
the
when
road.
she locks up with power behind it, it's going to be quite phenomenal.
It's going to do a good job. So yeah, I think for now we'll leave it there.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jason, for that and all your hard work off camera. And we'll catch back up with it when some more fabrication and hopefully a dyno happens.
I might paint it yellow.
Oh yeah, might paint it yellow too. That'd be cool.